In the last chapter, we created this HTML file, but the HTML tags, or rather the elements, are more, right? So let's look at more elements that can actually help us build a page with a form and a table. So you start a form. A form is something that can be useful to capture data from a user and then maybe do something with it, maybe send it to a backend or send it as an email. So yeah, to create a form, you start with the form tag or the form element, and then give a label to the data that you're going to capture. So in this case, sorry, we gotta use the tag in the end. So basically, label for the form is name, and given the name. So I need to add a line break here so that it appears the next line, and then input type text. And what am I going to get here? I'm going to get the name. Going to get the name, and let's create a placeholder. So these are basically attributes for this input type text. I can actually add an ID as well as a name, as well as a placeholder. And one more break using BR. Label for email, which is basically email them and add a line break. And then input type to email and IDs for the email. All right, now we need to submit this form. So input type is equal to submit, and the value of the button is also okay. So there you go. We created a form, and we want to kind of add some action to it. So let's write a quick uh, JavaScript that will run this and say hello. And on the button, when you click on the button, you also get this alert called hello, and the button name is basically click me. Now let's also look at how do we add styles directly to the page without having to use a CSS. Um, it's quite easy. So you just use the div tag, which is basically to kind of separate the contents in a HTML page. And then the div tag use style, and then add different details. All right, so that's how you can actually add styles directly to a particular part of the content in HTML page, and just say styles applied here. Now, if I want to reference an image, I can use this tag or element image. I'm going to call a placeholder image, which is what, yeah, place move to the font size, which is basically the pixel size that this particular image uh, will get, will show on the screen once I add it. So yeah, we looked at creating a form and then a button, and also looked at applying style sheet directly without having to kind of do it externally. And finally, let's add a table. So to start with the table, you start with the elements or tags table, and then tables will have two things, right? One is, or rather three things: a table heading and a table row and a table column. So you can start with a table row and then define the heading. So basically, for example, the heading can be called as in th. So we created the heading. Now we have to create another row where we can have the table data, which is also the column, which can be defined using td. Let's say, okay. All right. So yeah, we have gone ahead and created a table as well. And then you end the page using body and HTML. Here's the problem. From our last chapter, we created style sheets, but not for the form, right? So let's just go ahead and add some style sheets for the form. And since it's a little um, lengthy in terms of what needs to be done, I'm just going to copy paste it from what I have created earlier and just go over it. So yeah, we created up to here, which is the content, the site style sheet for the content, and then now for the form, we are actually setting up a margin with 20 pixels. We are also kind of setting up the text box for both input text and email, and we have set up the width and padding and other things, and then how the submit button should look like, with what color, and then what kind of opacity. And here's also a definition for the button and what happens when you hover over on the button. And what is the style sheet that is required for image, and how will the table header and the data will look like. That's also defined here. So yeah, we have almost created a very wholesome HTML page. Let's just open it and check how it looks like. That's my web page. Hold on. Yeah, this is the web page. When I refresh it, there you go. Yeah, when I click on it, you get the JavaScript pop-up from hello. And here's the name, the name, and other things that we created. And the style sheet got applied, and now you can see on mouse hover over, you get a different, distinct uh, thing. I mean, like shade on the screen. Awesome. And you can also see that the table that we created is at the bottom. We didn't have enough padding. Maybe you can give enough padding. And also this is the image that we added. Cool. Yeah, that's a good starter for you to kind of get started on HTML.